This battle is a righteous cause, Arjuna. No matter what happens, you will win. If you are killed, you immediately enter heaven. And if you're victorious, you achieve a great name and fame. Either way, you triumph. So arise, Arjuna. Fight. This is an excerpt from this incredible book called the Bhagavad Gita. This is the Jack Corley translation for Westerners. Guys, the reason I'm doing this is because there's an incredible secret within the pages, in the next couple of pages of this book, about how to execute, how to act ruthlessly, effectively, with all your strength, with all your might, in a very, very effective way, with minimal tiredness. So basically, this book teaches, and especially in these pages, how to act with great strength and great power without wearing yourself down too much. It's a paradigm shifting way of living. It's a philosophy of life, what they explain in these next couple of pages. And I'm gonna, if you've not seen my other episodes on the Way of the Superior Man, what I like to do is read a bit of the book and then give a bit of a discourse at the end in terms of how to practically apply this in real world situations, in real life examples into your own life. So that's what we're about to get into here. So basically, to give you the setup, Arjuna is a warrior prince, and he's a very enamored, loved prince of his kingdom, and he's going into this battle, but he's very conflicted in this particular battle. And his charioteer is called Krishna, and Krishna actually is a god who is masquerading as a charioteer. And in this time of trouble, where Arjuna is basically on the battlefield and he's kind of having a mental breakdown, his charioteer turns into the true form, which is Krishna the god, and preaches to Arjuna and preaches beautiful life principles, which we can all learn. So without further ado, let's get into the chapter, and then I'm going to do the discourse. So heed this important point about life in general. The way to win this great war is to react alike to both pain and pleasure, to profit and loss, to victory and defeat. So here's the real section we're about to read: the secret to selfless action. The secret of selfless action. Krishna, as though to solidify that point, pauses a moment and then continues. You have now heard an intellectual explanation of the principle of the true self, and of the need to discriminate between the real and the not real, so the things that change and the things that don't change. Now pay attention while I explain the practical spiritual discipline called karma yoga, for living a more effective, happier life in this vexing, ever-changing world. This is the path of selfless, God-dedicated action. By making this your path, you can live a spiritual life, yet stay fully active in the world. You can remain a man of action, achieving your very best, and yet not be bound or caught by the worldly. Karma yoga, literally union with God through action, is not in the least bit dangerous, old friend. On this path, no effort ever goes to waste, and there is no failure. Even a little practice of this will protect you from the cycle of death and rebirth, which is the exaggerated version of pain and pleasure, or craving and aversion. When one's actions are not based on desire for personal reward, one can more easily steady the mind and direct it towards the Atma, which is the true self within. For the person of steady mind, Arjuna, there is always just one decision. But for the quivering mind pulled in 1,000 directions, the decisions that plague it are endless, and they exhaust one's mental strength. People with an unsteady mind inevitably end up failing. Those with an unwavering mind achieve great success. There are people ignorant of this principle who take delight in their own particular dogma, proclaiming there is nothing else. Their idea of heaven is their own enjoyment. The main reason they do their activities is to achieve the pleasures and power that heaven promises. Thus, even though their motive is common and positive, they are in truth filled with rather selfish desires. With their minds thus taken up by their own selfish desires for everlasting pleasure and power, they are not able to develop the utter concentration needed to achieve union with God, which is mankind's only real objective. The scriptures describe three components of nature called gunas. I will describe these in more detail later, but for now, concentrating on transcending all of them. Focus on going beyond all of nature and all worldly attachments. To be bound to worldly nature is certainly not the purpose of life. Focus instead on the eternal that lies beyond this worldliness. Concentrate on freeing yourself from the tyranny of the so-called pairs of opposites. Release yourself from always trying to evaluate and judge everything. Disentangle from your habit pattern of seeing things as good or bad, lovable or hateful, pleasant or painful, and so forth. The tendency to get trapped in apparent opposites is a common and debilitating malady. Instead, remain tranquil and centered in the self, the Atma. Take care not to seek acclaim or acquire earthly objects. A reservoir that is necessary during a dry spell is of little use during a flood. Similarly, to the enlightened person, even scriptures are superfluous. Yes, live amicably with worldly existence, but know you must eventually transcend it. Prepare yourself for nothing less than union with divinity itself. Work hard in the world, Arjuna, but for work's sake only. You have every right to work, but you should not crave the fruits of it. Although no one may deny you the outcome of your efforts, you can, through determination, refuse to be attached or to be affected by the results, but whether favorable or unfavorable. The central points of issue, Arjuna, are desire and lack of inner peace. Desire for the fruits of one's actions brings worry about possible failure, the quivering mind that I mentioned before. When you are preoccupied with end results, you pull yourself from the present moment into an imagined, usually fearful future. Then your anxiety robs your energy. Making matters worse, you lapse into inaction and laziness. One does not accomplish great ends in some by and by future, O warrior. Only in the present can you hammer out real achievement. The worried mind tends to veer from the only real goal, realizing the Atma, uniting with divinity, the true self within. If this is not making sense to you, by the way, don't worry. In the discourse class, I'll explain in plain English like what the fuck all this means. The ideal Arjuna is to be intensely active and at the same time have no selfish motives, no thoughts of personal gain or loss. Duly uncontaminated by desire, duty uncontaminated by desire leads to inner peacefulness and increased effectiveness. This is the secret art of living a life of real achievement. To work without desire may seem impossible, but the way to do it is to substitute thoughts of divinity for thoughts of desire. Do your work in this world with your heart fixed on the divine instead of on outcomes. Do not worry about results. Be even tempered in success and failure. This mental evenness is what is meant by yoga or union with God. Indeed, equanimity is yoga. Work performed with anxiety about results is far inferior to work done in a state of calmness. Equanimity, the serene mental state, free from likes and dislikes, attractions and repulsions, is truly the ideal attitude in which to live your life. To be in this state of mind is to be lodged in the divine. Pitiful are those pulled by the fruits of their action. When you are endowed with this basic detachment, you shed the karmic consequences of both your good and bad deeds, casting aside the inevitable effects of your actions. Never lose sight of the overriding goal, which is to free yourself from bondage during this lifetime, to shed attachment from worldly things, detach from ego, and truly release from the wheel of birth and death. When you do this, you actually become one with God. I see that you sigh at this breathtaking goal, Arjuna. Know that you can achieve this by first uniting your heart with God, and only then pursuing worldly things. Proceed in this order and not in the reverse order, and then your actions will be linked to the very purpose of life, which is, again, union with the divine. A yogi is a truly wise person whose consciousness is unified with Brahman, the Godhead. True yogis are detached. They are not all concerned about the fruits of their actions. They are not at all concerned about the fruits of their actions and thus have left all anxiety behind. Detachment is the means to convert misery-laden karma, here indicating the entangling consequences of one's actions, into misery-free living. Detachment is the means of arising above worldly activities and getting to a state beyond the worldly. Achieve that transcendent state, Arjuna, and enter the battle not merely as a soldier, but as a man of true wisdom, a yogi. These high spiritual teachings are not meant for just a recluse. They are intended for an active person like you, immersed in the hustle and bustle of the world. So, here's what I think makes this stuff difficult. It talks about detachment. And often at times when we think of detachment, we think of indifference. Indifference means you don't care. But indifference suggests that when you think of being indifferent to something and not caring, ask yourself, do you feel like you get energy from that, or do you feel it kind of depresses you even a little bit? Why I share this is because detachment is, in my view, the wrong word to describe a very beautiful concept. It's not detachment. It's recognizing that there is a far greater and far more fulfilling paradigm level that you can play at. And when you play at that paradigm, which I'll explain to you, you will naturally become detached of seeking pain and pleasure here. It's kind of like you can either have a really, really wonderful, satisfying meal, or you can eat candy. And most people are eating candy in the way they're going about things. And they're having these highs and lows, these sugar highs and sugar lows, sugar crashes. And what this book is saying is, dude, if you actually eat like really good food, you can eat meat, you can eat whatever you want, but just eat really good food, you're going to feel stronger, you're going to feel better, you're going to no longer want the candy because you're eating like really good food, and your whole life will be better if you just eat really good food. That's what they're saying here. Now, how do you eat the really good food? You eat the really good food when you bury yourself in the present moment and in love. So what that means is this, on practical terms. When you are doing something you love, and even if it's a task in your business that you don't particularly love, but you do love what you do, but you don't really like this task, it's letting go of all the mental strain around it. It's recognizing that whatever you're doing is part of the process, it's part of the journey, and that's why you're doing it. And you are centering in this higher place of feeling so grateful for what you get to do, feeling a lot of peace and acceptance for why you're doing what you're doing. These are the energies I invite you to consider. Acceptance for what you're doing, embracing what you're doing, recognizing what you're on how what you are doing is leading to the bigger goal. And by the way, if what you're doing is so far removed from the bigger goal, that could explain why you're dissatisfied. Maybe you do need to do something with your life that genuinely helps you be more happy in the present moment. But what he's saying is, when you are more in the present moment, really, really deeply in the present moment, where you really love what you're doing and you're feeling every word, you're feeling every moment, there's a potency, there's an effectiveness that comes through. Like, hopefully you can see this coming through the camera right now, where there's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be. My mind is not anywhere else. It's literally on transmitting this energy through the camera. And you can only do that when you're truly entrenched in love in the present moment. And then you don't need to be attached to some outcome to get you going. I'm not thinking about like the outcome of this YouTube video. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about he doesn't say it in this particular part, but he goes on to say it. The reward is in the action itself. You feel satisfied by doing the action itself. You know that the action might lead to somewhere good, but that's not why you're doing the action. Like, that's not what you're attached to. You're above this thing of attachment, because you are, even if you didn't get the reward, you still want to do the action. And ironically, when you're in that place, it's more fulfilling in the moment, it's more sustainable, and it's more effective. People can feel it more. So it likely is the more yielding of better results. And I hope you can feel like when you're in this place where you're not hard attached to some action and you're just grinding your way through and killing yourself for it, rather you're actually filling yourself with energy and channeling energy through you, through what you do. It's a completely different paradigm of operating. It's a lot more of a magnetic paradigm of operating. And you become a lot more in flow when you're operating from that place. And you kind of already won, because even if you don't get the result later down the line, you're still really happy that you made that video, you did that thing. That's what this is about. And the way you can implement it, other than figuring out and doing more things that you love with your life, is building a harmonious relationship with the present moment. The more you learn to do, for example, gratitude meditations are great for this, but the more you learn to really accept and embrace the present moment as if you had chosen it, the more whatever moment is in front of you, not the story about the moment, but literally, like, what's literally in front of you right now, what's in your hands right now, where are you sitting right now, how does the air feel that you're breathing right now, where are you, what are your surroundings right now, not the meaning of what you're doing here now, but where are you in this moment, and really feel it and choose and accept it as if you had chosen it. Work with it as if you had chosen it. The more you have a harmonious, loving, accepting relationship to the present moment, the more life mirrors that back to you, and you find life starts to work with you more. The more you work with the present moment, the more life works with you, and you find yourself in this beautiful flow. That's how you implement this. So I really hope that you got value out of this video. If you did, please share it with another friend who's on the path. If you'd like to connect with me, I'm on Instagram under Dim Happer. I do hope you subscribe and stay along for the journey. There'll be many more like this. All right. Hope you enjoyed.